of a lost city of gold. And the two men brave enough to find it.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
In today's podcast, we're covering a DreamWorks movie that we haven't seen in literally ages, The Road to El Dorado.
This movie is one of DreamWorks' final 2D movies, and it's remained a cult classic since it came out. But what's about this movie that fans enjoy so much? Let's find out. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, notifications for future podcasts, and one of Paws videos.
Thank you for joining us today, sharing our videos, commenting, so much more. As always, we appreciate everything you do.
Yes.
You're awesome.
Yes.
So, The Road to El Dorado. Can't believe we actually watched this again.
Yes. It had been such a long time, and at the time of recording this and watching it, it was put back onto Netflix. It actually was there before. Then they took it away. Then they decided to put it back for some reason. So you said, you know what, let's go ahead and watch it before they decide to remove it a second or third time. And there were some things we remembered and things not so much. But while it's different from a lot of the DreamWorks movies, especially the ones they were making still in 2D, it still stands on its own.
Definitely. Now, for those of you not familiar with The Road to El Dorado or who need a refresher, it came out in 2000. It's an animated musical adventure comedy movie.
A lot, yeah.
Directed by Eric Bergeron and Don Paul. The screenplay was written by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. So
I think it's funny it's called a musical when the characters only sang twice.
And that's a blessing. The runtime was 89 minutes. It had a budget of $95 million, but it only earned $76 million at the box office, which makes it a financial failure.
Yes.
It has a soundtrack that features an instrumental score composed by Hans Zimmer and John Paul, and songs written by Elton John, and that was a bright aspect of this movie.
Yes, very. And another thing is that if you pay attention to certain points of the film, you can tell that it ended up inspiring future Disney movies. Because this came out in 2000. So there are some movies that came out much later for Disney, whether it be 2D or 3D. You can tell either this movie inspired or they happen to have the same frequency as them, especially the one being with the horse that comes along with them.
Yes.
Just being the original Maximus.
Definitely. And we were laughing when we saw all these things. Wish!
No, you didn't.
So this was only the third animated feature produced by DreamWorks at the time.
Yes.
And now we know them for so many other movies that the animation, of course, drastically improved. More stars as the VAs.
Yes.
More memorable stories. But this is their beginnings. And it was a good beginning. There were things about this movie we didn't remember, such as who voiced what character.
Yeah.
What two were together, and we were stunned.
Yes.
So basically the movie follows two con artists who win the map to El Dorado in Spain, and they end up washing ashore in the New World.
Right. And there they actually find the fabled lost city of gold. In this universe, it's real. And when they get there, they pretend to be deities in order to get inside, live amongst them, and try to find a way to bring the gold with them out of them, and they find a way to leave. And at one point you have the two guys are in charge. One of them actually both of them fully believe it, but there's a point one of them starts doubting that who they say they are, and for good reason, because they're con artists.
So they decide to, as you said, try to find it, and then they're mistaken for gods. And of course the people all want to worship them, and
they're like, please no. They like the party stuff, and that's it.
But as things go along, one person actually figures it out but doesn't expose them.
Right.
And then another person figures it out and wants to expose them.
Right. So it ends up getting to one of those slightly climactic battles towards the end of the movie, but they do a little differently from Disney. At least it's not by song.
I guess the good thing for DreamWorks is that this has become a cult classic. Not as much as some other movies, but it does have its following.
Right.
So at the same time we talk about the movie, we're going to talk about the voice actors, because I think in the way we're discussing it, we can go ahead and give them credit as we go along.
Right.
So the first one is Kevin Kline as Tulio.
Yes,
He's
really.
Miguel's friend, and he's supposed to be the strategist or
Yeah.
the planner. This movie, Sokka.
Yes.
And
He's instincts.
what's funny is Kevin Kline, his other roles in live action movies, he has a presence that's different. You also got to see him in the live action Beauty and the Beast as Belle's dad, and he was kind of boring. So I was kind of surprised when we started watching this and realized, oh my gosh, this is Kevin Kline. And he was very animated, ha ha ha.
Right.
His voice, and he was upbeat and likable. And I was surprised, like, this is the same person that played Belle in live action.
Right.
It's like two totally different people. And what was weird is Belle's dad in the animated feature was not boring or dull.
Right.
But for some reason, they decided to have him play the role that way.
I guess be more mellowed out and taken seriously. Go figure.
But I didn't remember that he was one of the stars.
Right. Me either. Really.
And he's the dark-haired one.
Right.
And then Kenneth Branagh as Miguel.
Yeah.
Also a carnalist and Tulio's friend. He's more relaxed, laid back in contrast to Tulio. And he becomes accustomed to the peaceful life. And again, did not recall that this was Kenneth Branagh. And I say that because of the Artemis Fowl movie.
Right.
And his character's likable. And then you hear them both together in this movie. They're both likable. They remind you of Tiger and Bunny, especially Kenneth Branagh as Tulio.
Yes, I thought that was hilarious. Like, it sure is him.
But they're a likable duo in here.
Yes.
And apart, you know them for different things, but in here, their teamwork actually works. And you actually end up liking both characters.
Yes. And as the movie goes along, you see how they develop both together and separately. And you see their past actually start to change the further along the movie goes. One of them still wants to leave and take as much gold as possible with them, and the other one is getting used to being there, and he's actually being kinder to the people there because the way that their civilization has it, that they have the wrath of them and they'll smite them at any given time, and they're kind of afraid of doing some normal things around them, and he actually starts being kind to them, showing them mercy and everything, and actually getting along with them. And you see how their viewpoints were different all the way almost up to the end, to the point where he almost didn't even want to keep lying and saying they were deities anymore.
Right. Then you have Along Comes the Girl.
Of course.
Chell, voiced by Rosie Paris.
Right. I think inspired Esmeralda.
Definitely. And she's a beautiful woman from El Dorado who discovers Tula and Miguel's con and decides to play along. So I'm sorry, it was three people. Who figured out what was happening. So it was almost like watching The Flash. The secret wasn't a secret.
Right.
And then she ends up falling for one of the two again, driving a wedge between them, because that's what always happened in the past in these movies.
Right. And an infamous scene that is like definitely not for kids. You already know the scene.
Yes. And she's sassy.
Of course.
She's likable. At first, you don't know if you're going to like her because of how she enters the movie.
Yeah.
But then you do end up liking her.
Right.
And before I continue with the cast, I want to say that watching this movie, the animation holds up. And I think one reason it holds up is because it's brightly colored and vivid and bright and vibrant. And you love looking at all the colors when you're watching it. And the animation still holds up. Someone, don't at us, telling us like Superman, you're saying that it's just as good. No, that's not what we're saying. It was made in 2000, so of course the animation now is better.
Right.
But for it being made in 2000 and rewatching it, the animation holds up incredibly well, especially because of the vibrance of the colors.
Yeah, especially
so
when it gets especially when it gets to the two musical numbers. And they have the bright colors when it's the celebratory one, and then the dark greens when it's the villain song.
And I kept saying again, Tulio is Kotetsu.
Yes, oh my gosh,
absolutely,
that was so hilarious.
Because this was made before Tiger and Bunny.
Yes,
so I
years.
believe that the writer for Tiger and Bunny watched this movie and designed Kotetsu after him. Because it's just too obvious.
Absolutely.
Then you have Ramon Asante as Zekel Khan. He's fanatically vicious high priest.
Yeah.
And he believes Tula and Miguel are the deities until he discovers the truth.
Right.
Then you have Edward James Olmos as Chief Tanabak, and he's the chief of El Dorado. And at that time, James Edward Olmos was known for being the captain on Miami Vice. So it was odd hearing him in here, but he did a great job.
We had a pretty interesting cast of people for the voices this time around.
And then we have two very well-known VAs, Jim Cummings as Hernan Cortez.
Yeah.
The conquistador and leader of the expedition to find gold from the empire.
Yes.
And then we have Frank Welker
Yes.
as Altibo, the horse who befriends
Yes,
Bill.
the horse.
He also voiced the bull that chases Miguel and Tulio at the beginning of the
He
movie.
voices the animals. I think that's funny.
And as we mentioned, this is Max.
Yeah.
And this is the
Just
horse
with-
from the original concept art for Wish.
Yeah, this is just with a little less attitude.
Yes.
And one thing that's important, I think we should bring up, this movie takes place in an older time period during the conquering times. So to know this is a fictional movie, but it's based off a real event. And please know, if there's anything in this movie, do not take anything literal in this movie. It's all just for fun. It's just a fictional film. Do not take the events they decide to use happening in here in the background seriously or triggering. It is only for the movie and the storytelling, and it's in the background after the first 10 or 15 minutes.
And it does have a happy ending.
Yes.
And there's character growth. And there's a lot of fun. A whole lot of fun lines.
Yes.
And it's just a joy to watch. And I literally
It's gold.
forgot how fun it was until we rewatched it. So last few we're going to point out Elton John is the singing narrator.
Yes.
Anne Lockhart is the girl in Barcelona, uncredited. Bob Bergen as Jaguar, uncredited. And Duncan Major-Banks as the Alkalite.
You know what's funny about this? This sounds a little similar to what Emperor's New Groove was originally going to be when it was Kingdom of the Sun. Now I'm beginning to see more why they have changed it to Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah. Now, the movie didn't do well with critics. Rotten Tomatoes, before it was rotten, gave it a 50% or 5 out of 10. Entertainment Weekly didn't say it did well. The Chicago Tribune, the Chicago Sun-Times, Good Morning America. It really didn't do well. And indigenous, let me get that right, guys, organizations criticized the film for sexist and racist themes and its lack of historical sensitivity, henceforth why Rascal mentioned this to you. He argued that Chell was a sex toy for the two Spaniards, but I'm going to disagree in terms of how the movie unveiled itself, because she ends up with one of them because he falls in love with her. She wasn't a sex toy. Things didn't happen in the movie that were inappropriate. There were no...
On screen, at least, right?
That is correct. And so I'm going to disagree with that. Watch it again for the fun, for the imagination they had writing it, and as Rascal said, intermixing real life events with fictional events,
right,
and making a story out of it.
Yes, and that is what we took it as when we watched it. And I think when we bring it up, it's a little bit why some people have different opinions on movies now and are more harsher. I think you kind of forget to just tune out the reality and get into the fantasy, because too many people have now put the reality into the fantasy and just want everything reality. This is back when you just had movies that wanted to be movies and nothing more. Not trying to send a message, not trying to show one side or the other,
No
something,
agendas.
no agendas, no politicalness, no something against some people or nothing. It was just to tell a story. This happens to use certain elements, and that's it. And that's what we enjoy the movie for, especially rewatching it now, especially with the memes they have online.
Well, the good thing is that 20 years after the film came out, The Road to El Dorado became had an unexpected rise, I should say, in popularity on the internet as a meme.
There it is. It's on the one hand gold, and on the other hand painful, agonizing failure.
It says it found a second life and a long-lasting legacy since it came out at the perfect time to make it a nostalgic movie for people who grew up with the internet.
Yes.
And that's really what you should take it as. Now, a YouTube channel called Dial Up Studios announced a reanimated collaboration titled El Dorado Redialed, a YouTube reanimated collaboration
Oh, okay.
in development. So hopefully we'll see that soon.
Cool.
But if you've seen this movie, or if you haven't seen it in a while, or if you've never seen this movie, all three are good reasons to watch it again. I'm really glad we did watch it. Again, it was a lot that I didn't recall, but it's still gorgeous to look at. It holds up well in terms of humor, storytelling, creativity, and being gorgeous to look at. It is really a gorgeous movie.
Yes.
And it shows you DreamWorks' foundation, where they started at to where they are now with their animation being insane and the type of movies they come out with.
Right.
Everyone has a beginning. This is theirs. And in all reality, it's not so bad.
Right.
So if you've seen The Road to El Dorado, let us know in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you have you rewatched it recently like we have? Did you enjoy the meme? Tell us what you think. If you haven't seen it, find it on your on-demand or streaming service for free. Watch it, come back, and tell us what you think.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates that we give you for your anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us today, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting. We hope you're enjoying your summer. And as always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Rascal
And
Entertainment.
I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams.